In continuation of our classification notes, I just want to wrap up by talking a little bit about the 5 kingdoms. So here we have our 5 kingdoms. We have Animalia, Fungi, Monera, Protista, and Plantae. And you may remember that the new classification, there are domains above these kingdoms. So for example, domain Archaea, which is the one that has the extreme bacteria, actually has no kingdoms underneath it. So kind of odd, but we do have our domain Bacteria, and domain Bacteria does have a kingdom underneath it, and it's kingdom Monera, so just one. And then lastly, we have our domain Eukarya, which is all of our eukaryotic organisms, and all 4 of these kingdoms, Animalia, Fungi, and Plantae, are underneath this domain. So if you look at the chart on the back of the first page, there's some information to fill in. In terms of in terms of cell type, you should be able to get by the domain they're under. So for bacteria or kingdom Monera, of course we know they are going to be prokaryotic, and we know that all of them are unicellular. Now, the one thing that may not be as obvious, and that's something called the cell wall composition, and you'll notice there's choices under the chart. They are made up of, so we're talking about Monera right now, they're made up of a type of chemical called peptidoglycan. And again, you can see how to spell that underneath the chart. So they are prokaryotic, unicellular, have peptidoglycan, and when it comes to nutrition, so we're going down the column, they really can be heterotrophic or autotrophic, though most Monerans are heterotrophic. One of the oddball kingdoms is kingdom Protista. These are all organisms, and actually from this point on, Protista, Plantae, Animalia, and Fungi are all eukaryotics. They're under domain Eukarya, so they have a nucleus. But in the case of Protista, right here, for cells, they can be multi or uni, so we can say both. They could be multi or uni. Their cell wall composition could be anything, so really diverse group, and their nutrition also can be both, so they can be autotrophs or heterotrophs. So really odd group of organisms. This is where you find your paramecium, your amoebas, and even your algae. Algae aren't plants, they're protists. Now when it comes to plants and animals, I think we're a little more familiar with this kingdom, so I'm kind of skipping over fungi for right now. Of course, animals, that's where we are, so we're right here, and we know that we are multicellular. We don't have cell walls, so there is no cell wall composition, and we're heterotrophs. We have to eat or consume to get our food. Plants, on the other hand, are also multicellular, and they have cell walls, but their cell walls are made up of something called cellulose. Just a different kind of chemical than what you see in the Moneras, the bacteria. And their nutrition, we know, they are autotrophs. They have to make their own food. And then lastly, I kind of skipped over them, we have our fungi. Fungi are interesting in that we usually think of mushrooms, which are multicellular, but some fungi can be unicellular, like yeast. So when we talk about cell type, we actually have to say both, uni or multi. Their cell walls, which they do have, are made up of something called chitin, just another kind of chemical. So basically the bottom line is you have fungi, you have Monera, you have plants, you have protists. They all have these cell walls, but they can be made up of different things. Fungi is chitin, Monera is peptidoglycan, plants it's cellulose, and protists it could be anything that makes up the cell wall. And then lastly, fungi, they're heterotrophs, not because they eat their food, but because they decompose. And if you decompose, you're a saprobe, and that makes you a heterotroph.